to All the Cars I've Loved Before, your authoritative podcast on automotive nostalgia. You know what time it is? It's time to slip on your favorite car-themed t-shirt, get a little grease under the nails, and step back in time, make new friends. You know, it's what we do. And, how you doing, partner? I see the car-themed t-shirt. I see wrenches. I see what looks like somebody graffitied on your chest. What is happening with that shirt?
It says "Get Wrenching."
Okay, did you catch the guy with the paint cans, or did he was he a little too quick for you?
Oh, come on. This is merch from H Wheels.
Yeah. Now I am not wearing a car themed T-shirt, but this is one I hadn't worn in a long time. You know, I live in Florida. If you have a collar in Florida, in Florida, that passes it formal. But I have ketchup. I have secret sauce. This is one of my favorite shirts. As we are underway here today. And we don't have any new reviews as of yet, but please help us grow. If you like what you hear, welcome back. Tell a friend, helps us grow. And for, let's see, Ash, welcome back. Ashburn, Virginia, Culver City, California, Wichita, Denver, Quebec to our friends north of the border, like Quebecois, as well as overseas France, Italy, Sweden, Israel, Bangladesh. Welcome back. These are all new listeners within the past few weeks, I would say.
Yeah. It's great how the algorithms work, right? And people discover us over time.
Higher minds than mine. Math. Yeah. What can you say? But yeah, so check us out, carslove.com, and our link tree, which I like to think of as our digital switchboards there. You'll find our coordinates, again, leave a review. Streaming on your podcast platform, streaming platform of choice. What else do we have, Doug? Are there any more tech notes before we are underway here?
None that I can think of off the top of my head.
Indeed. So, we have very special guests today. Let's get right into it. So, Doug, please tell us, how did our guests enter our garage?
Yeah, so to speak. Guests.
Plural. Virtual garage.
Yeah, our guests plural. Father-daughter, Dane and Riley.
Yay.
Riley from Riley's Rebuilds. So I had seen Riley on YouTube many times, and there's tons of articles out there floating around about her, and she's met some great celebs that I've also seen on YouTube. And when we first talked to H Wheels, Caroline and James, and we asked them, hey, we had so much fun on our episode because it was our first father-daughter episode, even though we talked to Kat DeLorean about her dad, who's no longer with us, but we wanted to keep the father-daughter theme going, and they said, you got to get in touch with Riley. So I found Riley's email, sent her a note, and she replied right away, and here we are. Fast forward.
Very excited. Yeah. So I've had this circled on my calendar for some time. Check out, as Doug was saying, the YouTube channel, Riley Rebuilds. Wonderful production values, and just so pleased that it's brought Riley and Dane to our doorstep. So welcome. How are you doing this afternoon to our guests?
Hi.
Fantastic.
Good. How are you?
Oh, excellent. And where's the weather? How is the weather where you were located? Because even though this was a Florida-based tandem, they seem to have split. So hopefully amicably. But how are things where you are in Florida, and how things are in Connecticut?
Hey, Florida is gorgeous. Florida is always beautiful, except for the hurricane season.
Yeah. Why would someone leave, Dane? Why would someone leave our fine state of Florida? Any ideas?
I guess we're terrible parents. Because she went as far as she could get.
Not true.
Negative, but you know what? I did the same thing. I can certainly understand. So now let's pivot to Riley. Now, Riley, you have a very good reason for going all the way up to the Northeast. Can you share how you escaped the state of Florida and what you're doing in the Northeast?
Yeah, so I go to Connecticut College. Here I was scouted through my soccer life. So I play varsity soccer here. I got a bunch of scholarships to go here. I'm able to accomplish a triple major in 6 years here. They offer a program which is called a 4-2 with WashU. That allows me to do a dual degree in math and physics while I'm at Connecticut College, and then it'll transfer over to 2 years to get my mechanical engineering degree at WashU, and then if I want to add another year, I can get my master's.
Fantastic. And as if you weren't busy enough. Okay, so let's count off. I think I'm going to run out of fingers on my hands to talk about what you're. Okay, so you mentioned soccer. You mentioned the school. I would superimpose on top of the school the triple major you just mentioned. Okay, so as well as the YouTube channel, which people would know you from. And the thing that intrigues me, I'm not going to say the most, but I find very interesting to sit on top of all this is the business. How do you find time to run all of that? In the business, I think is a very unique arrangement that you've arranged. Can you talk a little bit about how you manage all of that in school at the same time?
Yeah. So the business has been going for a couple years now. So we've definitely got down the way we flow the best as kids are working on carburetors, as we're mailing. I have a little brother named Graham. He just turned 16. He's our floor manager. So as I was doing this my entire high school career and bringing in friends, he was also helping me out in he was watching from the sidelines, and then we tagged him in when I left, and he ended up bringing in 5 amazing women and 3 other boys. And so he helps run the shop while I'm gone. And then also Dane helps a lot with all of the things that involves an adult. I'm able to do a bunch of the social media content. So over breaks, we bucket a bunch of videos. So every day we can bang out at least like 6. We change our shirts, we change our we say it's a different day, we have different lighting, and we pre-post those to go out on certain dates so that I don't have to exert enough more energy while I'm at college. And then we focus heavily on breaks. So that's when you see the most like new content coming out is breaks, when we're able to sit down and start filming again.
Gotcha. So do you sleep at all, or is that just you'll catch up with that?
That was my question too.
I'm a very good multitasker, so I'm very like early bird. So I'm up at like 6 doing work, and then I go to the gym, and then start my school day. And
the dad in me is going to come out. I'm sorry for this. Are you getting enough sleep?
I am getting enough sleep.
Okay, I just had to make sure of that. But I think that's yeah. So before we go in the Wayback Machine and kind of talk about your earlier cars as well as Dane's, let's see. I was going to ask you. Whoa, what's happening? I was going to ask you, how did you? I apologize. I completely lost my train of thought.
The Genesis.
I have to pause here, Doug. The Genesis. Hop in here, Doug.
Yeah. So I think what Christian was thinking about, and he generally doesn't lose his train of thought. That's me normally, but yeah. So we know the story, but we're hoping you could give us a quick background on how Riley's Rebuilds came into being.
Yeah. So Riley's Rebuilds was originally 13-year-old me doing carburetors on the side to build up enough money to buy my first car. I grew up very tomboy. My dad was a stay-at-home father. So I was always in the garage. I knew I wanted to be automotively inclined. And I knew that I wanted to be able to build my first car, or at least know what's wrong with it if I ever broke down. And I told my dad this, and he said, yeah, with what money? Because I came at him wanting like RX-7s and Skyline.
Oh, good choice, by the way, RX-7.
And yeah, so he said, yeah, with what money? And in the state of Florida, you can't start working until you're 14, and it's for a minimum wage, which was like $8 at the time. So that obviously wouldn't get me to where I needed to be for a car. So he turned me to the garage, and I found a carburetor on the shelves, asked what it did. He explained that it's a air and fuel mixture ratio device, and showed me how to break it down. And it was super simple. It was like Legos, and for the first couple weeks, he watched me break them down and rebuild them to make sure that I wasn't going to flood anybody's car. And then I kept getting better and better at it to a point where I was doing them really quickly. I made enough money for my car. COVID hit. So we stopped for a little bit, and we ended up building the car. It's a 1995 YJ. It's a Jurassic Park Jeep, which is really fun.
It's beautiful.
And I continued to kind of keep it up, but I didn't necessarily need a lot of money. I'd already made a bunch, and
Mhm.
COVID hit, so we weren't spending money. And then I got into a really big accident with one of my girlfriends at the time, and she, oh, I got into an accident with my girlfriends at the time, and then um, it ended up being a big amount of expenses for the car. And so I
Mm.
picked up Riley's rebuilds, and that's when I started running out of parts. And I had pretty much bought out all of Florida of carburetors on Facebook Marketplace because I'd been doing it for 3-ish, 4-ish years at that point. And so that's when I put it out on Facebook, and we ended up going viral on Facebook. And I had over 300 carburetors on my doorstep for free in the next like 3 weeks. And then I ended up hiring my 4 girl best friends. And they came into the garage and they joined me, and then we just kept it going from there, and we made it big.
So how did the carburetors find their ways to, so as I was watching the videos, it was just kind of my jaw kept hanging lower and lower is kind of your story unfolds in I feel like kind of that your whole audience is there from the inception to kind of see you walk through, and you go through the garage and you see all of these carburetors all over the place. How did these find you? I know you went viral, but how did these land so quickly in your lap garage?
Yeah. So we did have our addresses on the page, and then when we did go viral, I started having open communications, and then I was underage at the time, so Dane also helped me a bunch with a lot of the communications.
Mhm.
We were just because like when you're in a male dominated industry, you're always gonna get non-family friendly things filtering in. But it was a really good way to learn business at the time, and we looked at it as a learning opportunity, with business and LLCs and tax write-offs, and being able to show kids how to do this in a fun environment.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'd also been on social media before, so I went viral on TikTok during COVID for anime reviews. I would like read manga, and I would do anime show reviews. And so I was used to having content, like friends, and making content every day, and kind of just going at that. So it kind of came as a second nature. And also, um, when you go viral in high school, that's a really big deal to a high schooler. So they really want to jump all over it. And so we were talking to a bunch of people, I messaging a bunch of people that wanted to help me. I ended up getting in contact with Edelbrock as a company. So now we are Edelbrock's official rebuilding service. We get sent pallets once a year to twice a year, sometimes a couple months there, here and there, of returns that we rebuild. And then we started going onto TV shows and talking about our tuning expertise and showing how we rebuilt carburetors. And people just, it sounds so weird and so niche, and you wouldn't think there's a lot of carburetors in this world, but there
Mhm.
are so many,
Absolutely.
so many.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the rebuilding service, I don't necessarily know how it gets out there, but it does. We do a lot of podcasts. We say yes to everything. So our name is definitely out there. We've done
You
the work.
Yeah, you are a
We've
very
done the
polished
work.
public speaker. That much is
Yeah.
clear. I'm going to put you on pause for 1 second. Let's bring Dane into the conversation, and not to embarrass you at all, Riley, but Dane, I have to know, was she the kind of child that was forever picking something up, taking it apart, putting it together? Where did this come from? Or did it just all of a sudden she picked up this piece of metal and it worked? How did
Yeah.
that, was there anything to foreshadow that?
No, there wasn't. She was typical young kid. If your typical young kid is an athlete, that was her first thing,
See.
was soccer. She played soccer at an extremely high level as a child. She was on the Olympic development program and
Oh dear.
played for IMG and traveled the country
Oh
at
wow.
13, right? And I'm dad bragging now. She's still officially the youngest semi-pro player in Florida at 14 and a half. So
Whoa.
she was, but the cars were always in the garage. I was always wrenching. It is a hobby for me, not a career. So I always have something. And when I could get her in there, I'd get her in there. Like bleeding brakes, come in here and pump the brake pedal for me, and things like that. Um, but when she wanted her first car, there was the opportunity. I had tons of parts on the shelves, and I said, "Look, just go in and repurpose, polish, and put them up on eBay. Let's get all this stuff cleared out of the garage." And then she ran across the carburetors. And like if you've ever done carburetors, you know they're not terribly difficult, but like Riley said, they're like a bunch of Legos. If you put the pieces in the right places, it'll work. And then she started going on Marketplace and buying them all over Florida, and it was an opportunity for me to teach her how to negotiate with adults. And because she was playing soccer, we were traveling every weekend all over the Southeast. She would
Mm.
jump on Marketplace knowing whatever route we were going, and she would find all the carburetors between here and
Yeah.
Athens, Georgia. And we would buy them on the way and on the way back. And that's how it started.
Yes, and I can see in her tremendous drive, but also tremendous focus. So I can just sort of see in my mind's eye, in as much with my own children too, this just hyper focus on the task at hand here. I heard somebody once say that when he looks to hire, he looks to musicians and athletes for the reason you just said. They show up, they practice, they get better. They show up, they practice, they get better. So lovely. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah. So before we put you both in the Wayback Machine here, go 88 miles an hour back into the past, I just wanted to say, before I toss it over here to Doug, the video on the Jurassic Jeep blew my mind. It was wonderful. You got to check it out. Riley Rebuilds on YouTube. And she's right next to this beautiful Jeep with the Jurassic, the Jurassic Trim Edition, and it's got mud all over it. And I'm just, half listening to her, but why is there mud all over that? And at the very end, she says, "Yeah, that's right." And I went mudding last night, and I just didn't have a chance to clean it off. So with that, I'm going to toss it over to Doug, and
Yeah.
let's step back into the time machine.
Wonderful. Yeah. So let's ask Dane, because we did talk about Riley's first car. We are going to go back to it, but
Yeah.
Dane, tell us about your first car.
So my first driving experience was I grew up on a farm in New England, and
Mhm.
up in New England back when I was young, maybe still the same. You could drive at the age of 13 if you were within 5 miles of the farm.
Wait a
So I
minute.
was,
Really?
uh-huh.
Country
Yeah.
roads.
Curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it
Okay.
was,
Yeah, makes
it was
sense.
a way for us to get to and from fields, where we're baling hay and you got to get to another field or whatever it is. So I was driving farm trucks when I was 13 in a little town, drive to the convenience store, and it was not uncommon. It was a little farm town, so you'd see it pretty frequently. Um, and so my dad wasn't overly mechanical, but we always fixed our own stuff, right? We were on the farm. So I learned how to stick weld when I was probably the same age,
Wow.
12, 13, 14, fixing tractors and things like that. And when I was getting older and starting to look at cars, I was starting to get hungry for some speed. And my first car was a 1977 Monte Carlo with a 350. And I did everything I could do on that thing as a 16-year-old, um, including putting nitrous on it, which ended up being the end of that car.
Okay.
Oops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was a kind of a funny story, but I was
Please.
it was early morning driving home from a friend's house, and I ended up going stoplight to stoplight with an LTD and did three or four of them in a row. And then he pulled behind me and threw a bubble light up on his dash and pulled me over. It was a cop.
Mm.
And and he obviously, now I know he couldn't give me a ticket or arrest me. I mean, we were racing each other like four
Yeah.
lights in a row. And he started going over my car, and then he said, "Do you have no nitrous on this?" I said, "No, sir, I don't." He goes, "All right, lift your air cleaner off." And I lifted it off, and there was the plate, and that was the end of that
Oh.
car. Got impounded. You can't have nitrous in Massachusetts. You can have it in New Hampshire. Can't have it in Massachusetts. So that car got impounded, and my dad wouldn't let me get it out of impound. So that was the end of that car.
Mm. Now that one was a hand-me-down from your brother too, and
Yeah.
we get that a lot. We just
Yep.
love how these kind of descend from sibling to sibling. That's kind of
Yep.
cool.
Or at least it stopped at Dane at that point.
Yeah, it wasn't
Yeah,
going anywhere
that's
else.
true.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, did
I
it?
did
Because now
love.
my kids got, a big block Ford with the dual quad tunnel ram at 19. So I guess it didn't really stop.
Nope.
Good point.
Nope. Continue on. And I loved. Tell us about your radio in that car.
No radio. What radio? The
No
exhaust was
radio.
so loud you couldn't hear
Yeah.
anything.
Yep.
Yeah,
Especially when you're racing Ford LTDs
with
that
an
happen to
LTD.
be police cars.
And of course I had, headers into little thrush mufflers and no exhaust coming out. So it was just, I remember one of my buddies was behind me after a football game and he pulls up next to me on the highway, screaming for me to pull over, pull over, pull over. I pull over and he comes up next to me, but your car's on fire. And I'm like, what? He goes, it's underneath your car. It's on fire. And I went down. It wasn't on fire, but it was blowing flames out of the exhaust every time it would shift. So he was behind me watching this debacle go down.
Yeah. If only we had iPhones back then to take videos, right? That would be beautiful.
I don't know, or we'd all be in jail.
And incriminating, yeah, I was about to
No,
say.
I
Yeah,
just meant
could
for
go either
shifting.
way. Posterity doesn't need to know that much,
For
That's it.
for sure. So now, if we can shift to Riley, and I owned a few Jeeps. I think I had a '94 was probably the last Wrangler I had, and you remember it, Christian.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I remember the Jeep had a kind of poor man's fuel injection system. So I was wondering from Riley, did you swap out the fuel injection for a carburetor built by Riley's Rebuilds?
No, but we're going to.
Oh
Okay,
boy.
next on the
It
list.
is, it is
Way to tease the content.
Yeah.
it is like the last thing that we need to do on the Jeep. We've pretty much done everything else on it. We've been thinking about selling it. So, or Graham has it right now, but we've been thinking about possibly selling it and getting me a new car. So that'll be the last thing. It is bad though.
Yep.
It is sad. That was
Yeah.
the next thing to pop out of my mouth.
Well,
Yeah.
Where's the crying emoji?
and
Let's get
and
some crying emojis flying around here. Sorry.
this might be jumping ahead, but what Dane and Riley, when Riley was learning about carburetors, did she test the carburetors on any cars, and what cars did you have in the garage that she used?
We
Yeah,
dynoed a couple of them.
Yeah, you go ahead, Ray.
Oh, go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I one of the cars we have is a Dodge Little Red Express drag race truck. And so we did a bunch of testing on that. We also have a friend that owns a dyno shop south of us, about a half an hour. And anytime he had a carbureted motor come up on the dyno stand, he'd let Riley come down and we'd work on it and tune it. And that's where she really cut her teeth. And after she got confident, whenever we went to car shows, she would bring her tool bag with her
Yep.
and convince all these old guys to let this 16-year-old girl tune their carburetor at the show.
I saw the video. I saw one of the videos of her doing that.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Riley. Would you like me to tune up your carburetor?
Yeah, and I love videoing those from the very beginning so that I can show the guys' reactions. They're like, whoa, wait, really? Like, you know what you're doing. And then once she does it, and the car just runs so much better. I mean, Ryan, have we ever run into a carburetor that was already tuned well? Like, no. But they all run. They just don't realize that they could run better. If you just put that extra effort in.
Carburetors like Edelbrock carburetors are out of the box, put right onto your car, go and go. Carburetors. That's like what they're meant for. Versus, but you can always make them better. Like, I feel like a lot of some of the older carburetors too, you needed to tune them to the car specifically, but that's why, and we're primarily Edelbrocks, that's the ones that we normally tune. So they're never tuned to the car because they're meant to come out of the box and be put right on the car and still make it go really well. It's just we can make it better.
Yeah, well, that's and like you said, a lot of people don't realize there are a lot of carburetors still in use
Mhm.
today.
Yeah, there's a
I
bunch.
Yeah, we actually were at the Sanford plant at Edelbrock where they build all their carburetors, and
Hmm.
they are making the same amount today that they were making 20 years ago.
Wow.
Every week they're producing the same number. That's how many carburetors are
It's
still in use.
I have a quick funny about my late father, and this had to be in the late 80s when all the cars were moving to fuel injection. And I remember him saying, "Man, I don't want to move to fuel injection. My next car, I got to keep carburetor." And I said, "Dad, I think the only car you can buy now is a Hyundai Excel. It still has a carburetor." He's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, maybe not."
Yeah. Just
Or a dump truck.
Yeah. Or we could have had a dump truck ride to school. So
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
exactly. Or a tractor, right?
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
one thing that popped into my mind here, Doug. Sorry to
Yeah,
pop in,
please.
but something Dane said or wrote early here pops into my mind. The salt and weather reclaimed one of your automobiles to the ground. So, have you spoken to Riley about being up north and the salt and the conditions of the road, etc.? Have you mentioned anything about that?
Oh yeah. She had never, you had seen snow once or twice, but you had never driven anywhere near it. So there's a lot of over the phone education on driving snow, and then it's one of those you just kind of let them go and hope that they do okay.
Yeah.
But when we do project cars, we try to buy something that is, Georgia, Tennessee South. Um, we can do rust like Riley's Fairlane, right? I feel like I'm stealing your thunder, but we did
Oh,
all the
perfect
panel
segue.
work.
That's what I was digging for. But please
Okay,
continue.
yeah, we did all the panel work on it, and but I would much rather spend my time on the mechanical than on rust and body work. But go ahead, Rye.
I have a van up here that my grandma gave me. It's like really dinky little van. So it's four wheel. The first time I drove in snow, like it dies on me every other day. But yeah, I definitely learned really quickly that you can't have nice cars up here. And they can't be
Indeed.
two wheel. They have to be four wheel.
Yep,
It's a
indeed.
good idea.
Yeah, we had an interesting. This is the first winter my daughters had a license and had a car, and it's just the debate. Dad, can I drive? No, you don't. You haven't done it yet, and we just hadn't had it. Then the snow didn't stick around far enough, so her car was stuck here for a couple days.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a
Did you take her out into an empty parking lot and do
yeah,
donuts and slide?
yeah. Part
I
yeah,
mean,
part of
No,
the
he took
part.
her to Dunkin' Donuts, I think.
Yeah.
That's the closest we got to that one.
Well, part of the problem is I drive an electric car as my daily driver, and she's scared to drive it.
Mhm.
no.
Mhm.
And her car actually belongs to her mom, and her mom doesn't want me driving it. So there you go. We'll get
Oh
there
boy.
somehow. But
Someday.
yeah,
Someday.
I remember great times owning a Jeep in the snow. So much fun. So much
Hmm.
fun.
Yeah, so at this point, let's get to our least favorite cars. Is
Yeah.
there a least favorite car? And let's toss this out to Riley first. Least favorite and why?
Uh,
Least favorite that we've owned?
Owned
Least
or
favorite.
that we've worked on? Because I've worked on so
Mmm.
I'm
Your
like,
choice. Roll with it.
I would
Your
probably
least
say the
favorite roof.
Corvette
How
on
about your 2000 Mercury Villager? Is that helpful?
our.
No.
Listen,
That's
I
rude.
love Ruth. Okay, that's her name.
Yeah.
She is the best because
It's
when we need to move all our college
yeah.
items, we can pack her up.
And
Yeah.
it's actually a Nissan, right? Ruth underneath the covers. I think the
Is
Villager
it
was actually a
Mercury
Nissan.
Villager and Nissan?
Yeah.
Villages, yeah,
Oh no.
Okay. Useless trivia.
yeah.
Hmm.
But I'd
So
probably
what was your worst?
the
Go.
Corvette that we worked on Repair to Rev, it
Yeah.
was a C3
C4.
or
Z4.
just the engineering of the bay was so strange. They had
Hmm.
the water pump on top of electrical
Of the
work
distributor.
on the
Yeah.
distributor. So if the water pump ever leaked, your distributor would get leaked on. Like there's just some engineering points where I'm like, it's Corvette. You're okay.
You're better than this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear
Lovely.
you. I think my worst, or yeah, 1992 Alfa Romeo. And quick
Hmm.
story on that one, and I'll tell you
Please.
why it was the worst.
Yeah.
Was we were buying a house and we went to go do the final walkthrough, and the homeowner wife met us. She opened the door in a panic and she goes, "The house is ready. We can totally do the closing, but there's a car in the garage. We can't get it started."
Ooh.
And I was like, all right, that's okay. So we did the whole walk through the house. House is great. We get into the garage, opens it up, little red Alfa Romeo Spider, like not from The Graduate, but like a couple generations
Oh
older.
yeah.
She goes, "We're gonna get it out of here, I promise. We're getting a tow truck. We can't get it started, da da da." And jokingly, I said, "Well, you can just leave it. I'll buy the house anyways." And she goes, You'll take the car?" I was like, "Wait."
What?
I was like, "Yeah, how much do you want for
Fantastic.
it?" So she gets her husband on the phone. He says, "Oh my gosh, will you take the car?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm a car guy." He goes, I said, "How much do you want for it?" He goes, how about $2,000?" And I said, "Absolutely, yes. Go ahead." So I just told the house agent to cut them a check at the closing. We went back to the house and they didn't realize that there was a clutch safety switch, that you had to have the clutch depressed to start the car. It
Mhm.
fired right off. It ran fantastic. Great car. The only problem is I'm 6'1". I couldn't drive it with the top up. So I'm looking through the
They're little.
You
windshield
Yeah.
got to
like
duck
this.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, or this. I'm looking through the windshield. That's why that was the worst car I've owned. Not the car itself, but it just wasn't built for a 6'1" American. The Italians are smaller people.
Now, on a car that you worked on, how about the Chevy Nomad? I like that you wrote that it was an amazing historic car that nearly destroyed you in the restoration. It was you in the car. So what?
Yes.
Let's pull the thread there.
Okay. So this one Riley knows intimately. We've owned it since she's been alive. 1957 Chevy Nomad. It was a full frame off restoration. Every single nut and bolt was restored, and I will never do it again.
Mm.
That was the hardest thing I've ever done. Brutal. And it was taking like 18 years. I get a phone call
Holy
from
mackerel.
Riley randomly. She says, "Hey, Dad, I was on the phone with the ARMO Council at SEMA, which is the Automotive Restoration Council." She said, "I was on a conference call with them, and they asked if anybody knew of any great cars for SEMA booth, and I told them we'd bring the Nomad." And if you saw the Nomad at the time that she said this, it was a shell. There was no motor in it, no transmission, no interior was out, no glass, no chrome. And we had 3.5 months to finish it. So we killed ourselves. We had all the kids in the garage working on it, Riley working on it. She was 4
Golly.
and we got it done. And we got it done to a level that I was very proud of. We brought it to SEMA. It was fantastic in the booth. And then it went straight from there to Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals in Chicago, to the McCann show. And it scored a gold at a 969 for our first restoration. So we were really proud of it. I will never do it again.
Wow. Such attention to detail. Congratulations. That's really
Thank you.
something.
Thank you. Yeah, Riley knows that car from when she was, as she can remember, right? I have pictures of her at 3 years old block sanding it.
Yeah, it's like my oldest memory.
Uh, and it's a great one, right?
Yeah.
That's what we love to hear. And you guys are just, you've been smiling the whole time, but you started smiling even a little bit more
Oh,
when we were talking about
yeah,
that.
just all these kids running around in the garage.
Yeah.
Just oh, Lord, yeah, get OSHA involved, out of control. Okay,
Yeah.
Doug's favorite part of
Yeah.
the show coming up.
Yeah. So start with Riley. What would be your dream car? And you introduced me to a new acronym that I didn't know about.
Yeah, an OBS. It's an old body style truck. I've been really into them as a younger age, but I never was able to buy one. So I think that would be really cool, and modifying it, putting it on some good wheels and getting it going. I also have a little spot in my heart for like a 73's Bronco, like an orange Bronco.
Mm.
Nice.
I think that was a trend a little bit a while ago and they got really popular, but I've always liked them for a very long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Beautiful car. Well, I'm sure one or both are in your future.
I think so too.
Yeah. Yep. And
And
there'll
for
definitely be an Edelbrock carburetor on there
There definitely
for
will be.
sure.
and
Tuned
and
by
for
Riley.
Dane's dream car, he's going to turn into Mad Max and just
Yes.
drive around the wasteland, right?
I forgot about that. Yeah, I love movie cars. I always have. Actually,
Yeah,
that's why
yeah.
she has the Jurassic Park Jeep,
Yeah.
right? I just love that. I want to do an A-Team van. I want to do all kinds of stuff. But the biggest and the best was the Mad Max Jensen Interceptor, black with the blower out the hood. I mean, God dang, you can't get any cooler than that.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah. I remember. I remember. Yeah,
Uh,
and before we start to ramp the show down here, Riley, I wanted to pivot to you, and we always like to ask our guests about causes or certain themes or things they support. And you wrote something lovely here that I'd like to get your thoughts on. You wrote, "I'm all about getting the next generation into the industry," and you're living embodiment of that. And you mentioned that you're a huge supporter of the Jesse Combs Foundation. Could you talk a little bit about your involvement with that?
Yeah, so the Jesse Combs Foundation is one of my favorite like all-female groups. I in 2024 won the Rising Star Award. So Jesse Combs Foundation was like part of the first women that introduced me kind of to the industry when we first went to SEMA. We made sure that the girls and I went to as many women events, and the Jesse Combs
Mm-hmm.
Foundation like instantly saw me, grabbed me, and it was really a fun development because that was the first year. That was 2023. And I heard a lot of people telling me that I reminded them a lot like Jesse or that they wish
Mm.
I met Jesse. And I like had watched the documentary and I knew her, but I was being told all these amazing stories about Jesse to a point that I felt like I knew her. Like there was such a connection and everybody that talked about her loved her. Um, and so I started to love her. And the women that were part of the Jesse Combs Foundation, I started to love through Jesse and like through their actions. And then the next year I went to SEMA, I won the award. So I wore the bandana, and I got to really be
Mm.
involved with the foundation and meet all the wonderful people, like Dana and all the other like presidents of the foundation, and now I work with them adamantly. We actually have been kind of throwing it around to, we have one of Jesse's trucks that she used to work on with her dad, um, that we are possibly throwing around with some companies and some content creators to make it an all-female build and
Love it.
bring it to SEMA as a SEMA build and then make it into a race truck and get a team going and start branching the foundation to make it a women empowerment, um like loving community.
Yeah,
Love it.
absolutely. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And it's one thing that Dane was saying before about engagement, youth engagement. And I wouldn't look when I look at the two of you together, it just the theme of togetherness. It's just kind of oozing out of the phone, with your family involved in things, and you're obviously very close, and that's really wonderful to see. And as we guide the podcast gently to the off ramp, two things on the way out for you, and you don't have to take them in sequence, but I would like to ask, what is next for your brand, Riley? And then tangentially, and we've never had this before, this really excites me. I wanted to mention you have something going on with HH Wheels, who we interviewed, I don't know, Doug, what, about a month and a half ago?
yeah.
So yeah, take those two however you'd like to interweave them. But what's next for the brand, and mention what you're doing with HH Wheels.
Yeah, so
Can I take the brand thing? You take the HH wheels?
you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll take the brand thing. You take HH wheels. So this you guys are gonna get the exclusive.
We do
But
that. We do like to break news.
we're working with a team to develop an e-commerce site that will be powered by Turn 14 and Motor State, so that Riley's Rebuilds will be able to sell virtually every hot rod part available. And proceeds are going to go towards scholarships and tuitions for young men and women to go through the automotive industry.
Love it.
Fantastic. How do you follow? Riley, are you even able to follow that up? Goodness.
I mean, yeah, we are. So with part of that branding going on, we have been obviously bringing in a bunch of sponsors with that. We wanted to make sure that the cars that I was working on, we had those parts up and bring in brands that we really love and trust with our style of branding as well. And then with that, for the summer, we are going to be doing the Great Race. So that's going to be with the Fairlane. And we were thinking about it when we originally got introduced with this idea with Coker Tires and Hemmings. And they chucked it up to us at SEMA. And we said, what happens if we made this bigger? And we reached out to 20 plus content creators, all women in the automotive industry. And we were like, yo, if we decided to pick up one or two each day and get like sponsor money and travel money and make this a really big collaboration and have just a lot of fun with this, because it's a 10-day race through 7 different states, and somehow most of the content creators are all in these states. So this is where Caroline comes in from HH Wheels.
Yes.
We initially chalked this idea up straight to her dad, because her dad and my dad are friends, and then
wonderful people. They are wonderful people. Sorry, please continue. Yeah.
No, they're wonderful people. And so normally in this race, there's a navigator and there's a driver. And so we instantly went to Caroline. We were like, we need to figure this out. Like, you are going to be one of the main people in this. Like, we're going to figure this out. And then the dads were like, we should go in with an RV from the 70s and drive in the back and like blah, blah, blah.
Yes. Sounds like
a support team.
Yeah,
we're the support team. Not that these these ladies don't need mechanic support. They know more than probably we do. But James and I are calling ourselves the support team, mainly because we want to live vicariously through our kids. Pretty much how it goes.
Yeah, so that's a really big, awesome thing, and we're doing the Fairlane with that. And then, can I say the other part now?
Go nuts.
Okay, another.
Hold off on. I know where you're going. No.
We'll have you. Wait, pause there. We'll have you back.
Yes,
we love the exclusives.
That's a good way.
Let's break news in the future. Hey, we're great at breaking news, not so great at putting it back together. Well, Dane and Riley, this has been just a total treat. I want to thank you for making time for us in your schedule. You made Doug's day. You made my day. Doug, what do you think? We have anything else?
No, I think we covered
other than a great
everything. This was another fantastic interview. Again, like the gift that keeps giving, right?
Even though I seized up early on in the show like an engine without oil, but you know what? That's what happens. It's a one-take show. It's what we do. You have thank you all for joining us, and please come back anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to do it. And if you need any recommendations for other father-daughters teams,
we got some.
We got
all right.
So Riley, I'm begging you, get enough sleep and school first, please. Sorry, I'm a dad. You have just heard the high-revving, low-mileage, late model, heard round-the-world authoritative podcast on automotive nostalgia. He's Doug. Reach him at doug@carslove.com. I'm Christian. Reach me at christian@carslove.com. They are Dana and Riley. You know where to get them. Riley's Rebuilds on YouTube. But she's probably too busy to get back with you, and do not interrupt her sleep. Please follow and check out. If you like our podcast, tell a friend, review. That's how it allows us to grow. And I always say it wrong, Doug, so give them our link tree.
linktr.ee/carsloved.
And I swear one day I will learn how to spell, but until then, go there. It's our digital switchboard. I'm sure we'll see you at the next local car show, showroom, race strip, or concourse. We appreciate your listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, listener land.